already. I didn't check the sound thing. Yeah, it's working. Okay, cool. There. How do I close that out? There we go.
Did you recognize it?
No, I wasn't even paying attention.
It's not, I'm not the best. I'm not doing it perfectly, so I don't. I'm trying to play Redemption song.
Oh.
There we go. Part of it.
Yeah.
Part of it.
Part of it. It's a very good song.
I like it.
It has helped me through times.
I like it a lot.
Hi, everybody. We're hanging out today. And we thought it would be a good idea to facilitate a conversation about something that I think a lot of women can relate to, which is the struggle around having and maintaining healthy relationships with one another.
With other women specifically.
Yeah.
Because I would be hanging out with men. Like, come on. We've both been having a really rough go of it with
this is hard.
In general. Is right. Agree. Yeah, we were talking about this, and we both said that we had been having difficulties really since childhood maintaining healthy relationships with other females, other women.
Yeah.
And we don't really see a solution. There's not really a ready solution, but talking about it ought to help. I hope it helps.
Hello, Macy Burns. Thanks for being our first commenter today. Can anyone relate to
can anyone
this?
relate?
I had this realization last year. We'd mentioned childhood, and I just want to say this. When I was a little girl, I was in Girl Scouts for a few years, and that was kind of my first introduction to the idea of like a female-only community or space that was centered on girls at the time. And that those kind of experiences are part of why I think girlhood is such a significant part of our experience as women, because what we experience in girlhood just kind of continues to inform the type of women we become.
Yes.
And I had struggles, let me tell you. And I just kind of had a realization this past year as I was going through some shit with some people who weren't, just unable to make one another happy. Oh, thank you, HM, for the $20 donations. I want to tell everyone, though, you should rethink calling us ladies, because that is actually a classist term. I am not a lady.
Lords and ladies.
No.
Because this is,
I am
feudalist.
I am. Fuck the landed gentry. Those people are inbred. And if any of them are watching, shout out to you.
Shout out.
You see what those people and their fucking antics. I want to just go on a sideline here and just say how ridiculous I think it is that we pay any mind as a culture to the antics of these fucking blue-blooded freaks. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
but thank you for the really kind donation, and I know that this is going to be a healing talk for some of you. So anyway, back to my
You were
shit
saying
about Girl Scouts,
yes.
and how I'm still hung up. Like, how many years later, I realized a lot of the ways that I'm being treated or have been treated, or experiences I have, like, are echoing those things that happened when I was a little girl. You know, those dynamics where, like, these dramatic things happened that eventually led to my departure from my Girl Scout troop, you know, and I seem to have this issue with, like, dramatic departures, you know.
The same exact thing happened with me in Girl Scouts. What's weird is, like, so I actually loved Girl Scouts. I thought it was great.
I did too.
I
was
loved
so
the
passionate.
activities. I loved camping. Like, all of it was great. But I quit I think when I was like 12. Like, when I was in fifth grade, I, like, going into sixth grade, I quit because I knew
That's when I quit, actually.
I knew that the gals in Girl Scouts were going to be catty. Like, I literally knew it. I was like, well, now, because I would just finished elementary school, and I knew that middle school was, like, a whole other animal. So I was like, I just don't want to. I don't want to be in the drama. I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, like, for no reason, a ton of the girls that I'd been in Girl Scouts with, like, that next year, like, in middle school, just, like, stopped talking to me. It was kind of like a class thing, because, like, they wanted to be, like, popular or whatever the fuck. They wanted to be, you know, seen as, like, wealthy or whatever the fuck. I honestly don't know, but they just stopped talking to me for no reason. You know, they wouldn't say hi to me in the halls or anything. So obviously I was right, because they did become catty.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sad, because I wanted to continue camping, and, like, we had good relationships before that, so it was just it was really just dumb, honestly.
How does it relate, though, to now? And, like, I mean, that's the thing, because I see this, like, wounded aspect of myself that was, like, really passionate and interested in this thing I was doing, and, like, not sure where I wanted it to lead me, but I needed everyone around me to, like, take it as seriously as I did, I think. Sure. And I was not around people who were doing that. And I think sometimes some of the issues are with me, you know, and, like, my own inability as a woman to get over, like, this, like, hyper feminine habit of avoiding conflict.
Sure, I think that's a big part of the issue too. Avoiding conflict is easy, but is it? I mean, avoiding conflict is less uncomfortable, potentially.
Yeah.
You know, conflict isn't fun for the most part. One thing, I'll just give an example. So, I had this friend, and we're still friends, but, like, we were living in the same town a few years ago, and we were hanging out one time, and she kind of mentioned to me that she thought I was kind of a flake. And, like, that made me feel really bad, but I thought about it, and I was like, I actually have flaked on her, like, more than once. She's right. And, like, that wasn't, you know, a fun realization. That wasn't something that was good to hear. It was good to hear, but it wasn't something that, you know, made me feel good. It made me feel bad, but she was right. So, like, it's important to say those kinds of things, but women just generally don't.
Right. And yeah, I've had that problem too. And some of it is just, like, what I think too is often going on, and especially, like, in the kind of communities I've like been a part of.
Yeah,
There's a lot of unresolved trauma,
absolutely.
which can like myself too, like included, that we're not aware of. And I think like because we're not aware of our triggers, we can fall into these behaviors when we're triggered that get us acting out the same like story,
Yes.
without really being aware of it. And we're not, because we're doing that, we're not able to like be really present. And I know I've also had issues with like struggling to be liked because like I'm aware that I have this like reputation of having a caustic personality and that I'm difficult to work with and that I'm like mean. A lot of people think I'm
A lot of
mean,
people think I'm mean too.
which is so funny because like I'm not. Like
No.
I'm really warm and nice. And I guess I mean everybody has different aspects of themselves. So
I think that just as a woman, asserting yourself is seen as mean.
I agree with
Asserting
that.
your opinion even can be seen as mean. And we really just need to stop thinking that because it's not true. Being assertive doesn't mean that you're mean. Duh.
But being assertive, though, often means that like you can't coast through life, and
Right.
that's I think kind of been the issue for me and like a lot of my kind of struggles to survive and live the kind of life of independence that I want. Like it gets tiring fighting a lot of the time.
Oh,
I just want to be able to like rely on people to be like, but I know it's fucked up to have expectations of people that like are uncommunicated as well. Like I expect you to do the right thing always and to know what the right thing is the way I do. And it's like,
that's my issue too.
how can I do that if I don't tell someone too sometimes, like
True.
what I'm actually wanting from them?
An ongoing issue in my life is I have been, I believe the best in people to a fault.
Yeah, same.
I want this person to do this, that, and the other thing, and I know that they can, but, and then they just don't, and then I, just keep repeating the same thought process, and I'm getting better, I'm improving, because now I'm finally being like, you know what? She said she was going to do this, and she did that instead, and, like, I've asked her that 3 times, and I think I should just move on or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard.
It is.
I don't think it is bad to believe the best in people to a fault. Like, we got to be real here, gals, everyone. But, like, you also have to, like Terri was just saying, you also have to explain to someone your intentions, your expectations. And if you don't explain to them your expectations, like, how are they going to know?
Right. Well, we wanted to talk about too. There was something about like this thing, like we met through fighting through for the liberation of women, right? We're both like radical feminists. We met up because of that. We developed a friendship, which has been great. I have to stop for a second and address the chat. Like, I want to say thank you. I see that we have we have Kay from Moscow. So, здравствуйте to you. Shannon is here. A-Chan was generous and gave a $20 donation to the channel. So, thanks. And Ulwin is here.
That's Ulrika.
Oh, Ulrika. Hi.
Hi. Hey, with a J.
And then Blankbird said, hey, Queens, I just want to say, too, like, as I addressed the ladies earlier, I have a problem with being called a queen.
I'm okay with it, but I understand where you're coming from.
Like, think about that. Like, it isn't it's not a good affirmation. Queens shouldn't exist. All right. Royalty
The
is a
queen
bad thing.
is
It's
a chimo facilitator.
yeah, she's a child molester facilitator, right? The Queen of, I mean, yeah, when we talk about the Queen, we're talking about like the Queen of England, right? Like what she represents and what queens represent is class in its utmost form. And what I would like to facilitate is a culture of like equality, you know? And I think that's something that's really hard too, because that's been a struggle with it's like, how do we view all women as equally valuable if like we're in this game of like, you know, competing, yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
witches.
Hey, witch. Yeah, if we're always competing, that's not good. And I think that's something that women, it is something that women ape from men. You know, men are in fact always competing, because they're dumb. But like we don't need to compete in every single aspect of life. If you're running a race, okay, but like we're not running a race. They are not racing us. We don't have a fixed. We do have a fixed destination, and that's the liberation of women, but that isn't happening anytime soon, unfortunately.
I think it's something that has to arise from like one's own desire.
Absolutely.
And I'm like kind of confronting my own need to be like kind of separate a lot of the time, you know. I've also learned from like my struggles with like social dynamics and like especially dealing with multiple women's personalities at the same time, like I'm learning the importance of like a bit of distance in these types of relationships sometimes, because we can get so over reliant on, I don't know, some of it's validation. I had a recent experience where like,
I'm just starting to hate that word. Carry on.
Well, I want to talk about this like experience I had recently where I decided to stop associating, and I'm kind of in this time in my life kind of really looking at my relationships and with people critically and being like, does this person measure up to my values? You know?
Yes.
Period. Like, is this person aligned enough to walk in my life? Like, do they have enough integrity? And that's like a shitty thing to like, or it feels shitty to like judge about someone. Like,
sure.
Cause it's harsh. It's harsh to look at someone and be like, you're not measuring up to my standard, and like to be really clear about that. So I've had a couple of experiences like that in the past year or so where I think I just have like reached a point where I can't tolerate certain things anymore from people. And from women, I want to see them I guess I've like really frustrated with this because I really would like to see things be a lot better for women. Like I don't know what that would look like, and I don't know like what part I'm supposed to play in the facilitation of that in this world. I just do what I can, right? But I'm really frustrated with like a lot of things that I just see going on, and like a lot of the same. I guess I've been in this like kind of experience or like they've been exposed to these kind of like communities for long enough now, like that arise around like certain ideological beliefs, you know. They're easy to get sucked into. They provide structure. And I've been thinking about like how most of the people that end up in these places are fucking lost.
True.
You know,
Honestly, that's
like
true. That is true.
like, and I've been lost at times too. So, but I see like there's a level to with which we feel safe if we have like the right ideology or word spin we can put on what we're doing to justify our lives and selves. You know, there's so many like comfortable lies that we can tell ourselves. And I'm kind of being confronted with like needing to distance myself from that kind of shit, you know, at this point in my life. Like, and learning to read the fucking room properly, you know.
True. Yeah.
Instead of just like, you know, and sometimes I've just wanted to facilitate like a nice experience, you know, where women could just be too. Like, I definitely wanted that, but it seems to be like when I'm facilitating that, I can end up as like an enabler for things that I don't like to go on. And that's definitely happened where I feel like I've attached myself, my reputation, myself, like, which is enough to like things that I'm not okay with because like I want to be, I guess, open-minded or like I want to facilitate. People have the right to like figure things out for themselves sometimes. And I just don't know, because when I've like tried to step in sometimes too and like confront women about things that are like difficult, it doesn't necessarily go well.
I've
like
not had good experiences with that either.
Yeah. I mean, where it's hard to know how to approach like a criticism, you know?
Right.
It really is like, oh, I have this criticism of you. How do you deliver a criticism without like hurting someone?
You really don't. I mean, you really kind of can't. You know, even when you say it in the nicest way possible, if that's not in the other person's interest, it's going to upset them, you know? And I understand that, and I've had to work on that myself. But like, you know, when that does happen, I ask if someone's criticizing me. I say, okay, well, can you explain more where you're coming from? Can you give me some examples? You know, and if they really do have a point and they really are just trying to, you know, help me out, or they're trying to explain something they feel that they need to explain to me, like, okay, that's fine, I get it. But I think that women just immediately take criticism as like being hated. They immediately take it as hateful. So that's why, you know, I had to disable comments. And that's why you had to disable comments. Because so many women would just comment on my shit and say the dumbest shit. And they would, they'd clearly be hurt by what I said. You know, I said something in a video and it upset them, it hurt them, it made them feel personally attacked. And I get that, but that's not my problem. Like, take it or leave it. Like, here's my criticism, take it or leave it.
It's hard sometimes to take criticism when it's not like dressed up how we would like it to be. And I wonder, like, with with something like our YouTube channels, like you and I make YouTube videos.
Yeah.
There's a level of vulnerability that goes on with that.
True. Yes.
And I've seen like many women, like, you know, most women can't do this, which is like they have no idea what it requires.
Right.
Like it's not for the faint of heart to make videos. Yeah, no, you have to be brave in some really strong ways to get your face out and like say your fucking opinions like that are not popular.
Right.
So, you know, I've also dealt with just over the years so much poison being like put like in my vision from like the comments. Like I've been on YouTube a long time. So I've dealt with like being internet dogpiled quite a few times as well. And the kind of like poisonous shit that it's not good for you to like read that over and over again.
No.
It's not healthy. Like it puts you in a state of defensiveness all the fucking time. You're distracted because of it. And it's like a lot of the times, like I think women like do a sadistic kind of dance where they concern troll, maybe is what the word I'm looking for.
I've experienced that. A comment I've received multiple times, I'm sure you've received it multiple times, I'm sure we will receive it in the future, is this, and I've gotten it from a lot of other women too. Is this bullshit? Who hurt you?
Yeah, I've gotten that from women, which is probably one of the most devastating things like
that
a woman can say to you, because it's like
is so fucking dumb. That is so fucking dismissive. Only the stupid comment that. There is no intellectual. Yes.
Only the male identified comment that.
Yeah, women who are male identified comment that. Women who cannot comprehend themselves outside the context neither can they comprehend themselves outside the context of men. They cannot comprehend other women outside the context of men. And saying who hurt you is just pointless, and it's like so dismissive of what we're trying to say, what we're trying to point out to women. And women just think that women like us who are not male identified, who are actively trying to get other women not to be male identified, are a problem. And you know what? We are, but we're the exact kind of problem patriarchy needs.
Yeah, I mean, the question is like, what do they ultimately want?
Right.
I think, yeah, like the situation is most women just want a like better deal. And that's really hard to like accept for me, because it's like, so what is Carl Connie?
It's my shirt.
Okay. It says Leah rocking Carl Connie. Wow.
A booty kiss.
Okay, so when I talk about male identification, and I think this was something that I kind of should have addressed in my like love your enemy like live stream, to be male. So because one thing that came up was like, well, what's a political lesbian, right? And that's like a woman identified woman is how they explain it. Woman identified woman who doesn't fuck men. What does it mean to be a woman identified woman as opposed to a male identified woman? It's like, how is your life oriented? What's your support network like? Who are you having relationships with? Who do you put first? That is a determination of like woman identified woman. And it's something that like, I mean, most women are male identified, you know, their favorite thinkers, male, their favorite,
their lives are usually run by their husbands.
Yeah. Or like they prioritize their male relationships, you know, in the case of like a male identified mother may like lavish like love upon her son and neglect her daughter. Like these are the ways that it can like manifest. Or it could be like in putting your like not hanging out with your friends once you're in a relationship with a male is like another common way that it manifests, like in young like heterosexual women.
Yes. Women who just have a one-track mind and only want a boyfriend, only want a husband.
Well, I think it's about more than that too, because it's like we can like have bigger ambitions but still be male identified, you know.
True.
It's just or like needing like male it's like a reliance on validation from male culture as well, I think too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's a big example of it and why it can be hard to like it's a thing that does, I think, oftentimes break apart female connections, like because
can't count how many times.
Yeah, you can't like it's happened to me many times, and I think that's often a big thing where like women are just like they put men first and they do it for whatever reason. It could be a lot of the times it's about like connections and resources. So like examples of this have been like relationships that I've had with other like feminists that would like fall apart once they were entangled with a male.
Yep, that has happened to me a lot.
Or like they'll choose to like side with males in like conflicts is another thing. You have to be really careful about that shit. Like I think situations should be judged like on a case by case basis, but like when women have issues with males, there's often some reasons for it. Do female identified men exist?
I don't think so.
Apparently they're all over the internet and coming to a
feminist discussion group.
Or just I don't know, what are they all doing now? They're like sports and I don't know. It's depressing.
Someone said, Lisa said, women who I thought were feminists asked me so often if I hate men. They're welcome to ask that when I am imprison one dude for 5 years in a chair. Yeah, you know, women are this is just expanding upon being male identified. Women are so afraid to be called lesbian. They're so afraid to be identified as a feminist. They're so afraid to be identified as an activist for women's rights because all of those things are against men. All of those things are not in line with compulsory heterosexuality. And like that upsets people, and women are so afraid of being identified as those things that they just shut the fuck up and stay at home with their husbands.
Or in their like whatever. I mean, this can relate in different ways too. I mean, it doesn't just happen on that level. I mean, in terms of a lot of times you see it in like artistic communities where like, you know, or like I see like all the queer arts communities where this shit goes on where it's like, you know, dicks to the front, you know?
Yeah.
It's that really. Kind of mentality. It's just, and it's one thing where it's like, it's hard to, it's not something we talk about that often, you know? And I think that's kind of like the problem with this overall. Like, we don't really speak the same language a lot of the time. And that also makes it hard to understand one another. I wanted to address this, like Kay and Naomi. Kay said, I gave up on trying to deliver my points to women who speak misogynistic shit out of their blissful ignorance. Ignorant people are comfortable being ignorant. I think that's true a lot of the times. And sometimes with people, or sometimes with women, I've like made calls just like, even if they were wanting my perspective on something, I've been very understated just because, like, I don't either think that they will listen appropriately to what I have to actually say about the subject. Which is maybe a fucked up judgment to make, but like, it's really hard. It's hard. And I think like I've had so many experiences where like I'll say what I actually think, like I'll go there and then it's like,
Right.
you're fucking crazy. And it's like, well,
I've had that too.
You asked.
Right, you asked. And that's, that's kind of, I was talking to June kind of about this yesterday. Is like, a lot of things are very upsetting to talk about. A lot of things are very disturbing to talk about. A lot of issues are extremely uncomfortable to address. I'm not denying that. And I feel like women are just, too afraid to even try to go there, which bothers me,
Right.
And it's like, I mean,
well, there's no like effort put in. It's
Right.
like, well, you're a bitch, you're replaceable.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if I've done that ever. I mean, I probably have made women feel that way too. But I mean, again, it's the lack of ability to like, I think sometimes we don't even know how to communicate what we're feeling too.
Sure.
So I want to address Naomi's thing too. She said, it's so much easier to hide behind a screen and never have to deal with the consequences of one's words or actions. Whereas you two have to deal with what it entails to be out there. Oh, Dworkin's ghost is here.
Hi. Right. I'm for that. Thank you.
I mean, the whole hiding behind a screen thing, it's like, I've definitely had a lot of consequences for my words and actions over the years. I mean, I'm, like I said, not popular with a lot of people. I also have had people lie about me though too, which is like really hard to navigate because it's like, if do what you have to do, but like don't make shit up. Like, I find that that's another thing that's kind of like, where does that come from in like women's relationships with one another? The willingness to like lie about or like spread rumors about or that kind of thing. Like,
I think it's like, I think it's often probably personal, like maybe they don't like you and they can't just, saying, well, I don't like her isn't enough. So they have to make shit up to make you look worse than you actually are.
Yeah.
And make them seem like the person who's in the right.
That's like how addicted we are to being in the right all the time. That's something I'm like learning to let go of. Like, in terms of conflict, because it's like I find myself holding on to like anger or resentment or grudges because it's like, well, I'm right. And it's like, right or wrong, shit is what it is,
True.
And ultimately, like, I've had to learn some lessons about like people the hard way. Specifically about like women, like I think don't trust each other a lot of the time. That's like, and some of it is that like hyper competitive thing.
Sure.
But I think also like women are hard to trust. Like it's hard to trust like that someone's going to be consistent, or that, and or that someone's going to be what you expect them to be. And I guess that gets into expectations. Like, what do we expect from the women in our lives ultimately? And is it fair?
I think that too many women don't really have direction. They don't really have expectations for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that's really hard to even have about other women. You know, is like if another woman is just not really being consistent, how could we trust her? How could anyone trust her? How could another woman or another human trust her, period?
I was thinking about how like hard it is to live your values too. And it's hard to live your values though when you're relating to people like who don't meet those expectations.
True.
That's the other thing where I'm getting like kind of hung up. And I guess I kind of want to talk about this tomorrow on my live stream too, because the whole subject was going to be on like cutting ties. So
Okay,
if you're interested, tune in tomorrow. We'll talk about
time?
that. Oh, I don't remember, 2 or something probably. Anyway,
I've been trying to do that more.
it's it's a weird thing to think about sometimes, like, but I don't want to be like connected to a lot of shit anymore.
Same.
Like I worry about like my own. I don't think. I think I said something earlier about like taking poison. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to take more poison. Like
Same.
I don't want to be in these situations where like I'm getting fed less, I guess, than I feed others. That kind of like, you know, where
and it's also just like I feel like it's mind pollution, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to pollute your mind with something you don't need.
Garbage.
Right.
Or just
Right.
I've seen how much like people like even women do it, and this is such a masculine behavior, like putting others down. Like, you know, just like and like putting the wrong people down too. Like and not being at all aware of it. And this has been a problem for me with like the whole rise of the whole gender critical movement and like watching that take off. I mean, I was against that kind of language as soon as I saw it. I was like, this is a heterosexual hijacking of radical feminism, is what I thought. And it is. It fucking has been. You cannot deny what the fuck is going on. And I see so much like, I don't want to be like associated with like that stuff, right?
No.
And it's hard to like know how to like gauge that because I may agree with a lot of I may like agree with like certain points, and like I want to protect women only spaces, and I want women to have schools that are only for women. I want women to have like parties that are only for women, gatherings that are only for women. I want them to have like safe houses that are only for women. I want them to have shelters that are only for women. I want them to have bathrooms that are only for women. You know, I want that shit. I want them to have prisons. Like, no, fuck that. I don't want women to be imprisoned. But like, you know what I mean? I want women to be treated fairly, and that I want our like unique experience like with our bodies to be like not treated like a fucking mystery, you know? And it seems that like in order for that stuff to be you have to like be part of like a lot of things that I'm not comfortable with anymore, you know?
Right.
As an activist and also as a person. And I think too about like in my life, like who do I really want to be against and for? Like I don't want to be against anyone really. I think that's a bad way of going about activism is like, you know, let's fight this group of people over here for scraps. And I see a lot of women just get into this like culture of like, you know, and I'm not immune to it. at all. I want to say that too. Like, I've definitely played my part in this. So, but just like, it's such a distraction from like what we are for ultimately, and what we are for needs to be built like a lot more than like some sort of attachment to like tearing somebody else down or some other group down, I guess. And that's where it's like I get kind of like I can't put my energy into that anymore. I can't be associated with that. I can't be around that. It's not good for my mind anymore, because I don't want to be at war anymore either. No. Like, I want to cultivate peace in my life, peace in my life and myself, so that I can like be fucking
just be.
Well, just be. And I also want to just like, I don't think that you can fight. There's another, again, I don't think you can provide an alternative, if you're constantly in them. It's not the soldiers, right, who are providing the alternative, right? They're not the ones like leading the strategy. And I guess I just felt like sad, really sad that like it's so easy for people to like lose touch with like what they're ultimately about. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just what I'm about isn't what other people are about. And I'm like, again, seeing things in people that aren't there.
Sure.
So,
I feel like, go ahead.
Hannah Tay said she used to have a friend who would always put her down in public. I have no idea why she did it, but I stopped seeing her because of it. I think I've dealt with that too. Actually, I had that recently where
that's messed up.
Where people, where
it's really twisted.
Yeah. Or like just kind of saying little dismissive shit to put you in a box. It's something to like really be aware of if a woman's doing that, because for one, it's like a projection and probably a bit of competition there.
It's a female socialization.
But it's like, it's cruel aspect. As well.
It's very cruel. It's really super cruel. It's like, I agree. And you said you have no idea why. Like, why would you do that to another human being? That's very messed up.
Well, sometimes like we can get so caught up in like trying to understand something too that we don't like get distance from it. So I think it's good that you stopped seeing this woman.
Right.
So A-Chan says that techno-industrial society encourages women to be men so that everyone is just an androgynous, unquestioning wage slave. I mean, I don't know what that means to be encouraged to be a man, because I feel simultaneously pulled in like two directions with that. I think being a woman in this culture is being like male identified and usable for like male society. Yeah. So like you need to be pregnant under their terms, and like this is an example, right? So like the whole like way in which like our physical bodies are treated as like that's like meant we're supposed to ignore that and like pretend that it's not the labor for society that it is, right? This burden of carrying like the ability to create life within us, it's just not seen as labor. And we're also meant to like see, and there's like a mystique. It's like that feminine mystique, right? Let's readdress that. The feminine mystique is that we are simultaneously supposed to be like these lust objects whilst also being like exploitable by capital. It's like, so we're supposed to be workers, and we're also supposed to be like recreators of the workforce, and also like sexual objects of the workforce. So anyway, it's an interesting thing to think about. MC Neuropsychophysiology says, you two are awesome. My lesbian feminist best friend introduced me to your channel. Y'all opened my eyes to a ton of bullshit that exists in society against women. I'm a gay dude, by the way, thank God. Well, see, that's also the other thing. Like, I see a lot of the time that women aren't, like, given the credit for how brilliant we really are.
True.
Like, okay, I am a little salty that, like, 10 years ago, I was, like, being anti-porn online and receiving a ton of shit for it. And now I see, like, all of these men hijacking, like, the anti-porn thing and being like, guys, it's not good to watch porn, you know?
But they're not coming at it from...
They're not coming from the feminist angle. Right. They're just like...
this messes up my dick.
Yeah.
My dick function.
But they're profiting. They're taken seriously about it. All of that crap, and it's just like...
Right.
Jesus. Women just are not...
Valley Rain says, I honestly don't like the gender critical movement. It's ruining the radical feminist movement. Hey, Terri, are you Santa Claus critical? Are you critical of the existence of Santa Claus? Because, like...
No, I'm not.
That's what gender critical is saying. They're saying, we're critical of this imaginary concept. Well, I'm against the imaginary concept entirely. I'm a gender abolitionist, not gender critical. That shit is stupid. That language is stupid. It doesn't, I mean, it's not clear, and
it doesn't provide, like, an idea of where you're going either. It just sounds like you're criticizing people, which is a problem. But I think, like, it's such a fucking liberal way of, like, addressing the subject. Okay, what is gender? All right, you start there.
An imaginary concept.
It is an imaginary. All concepts are imaginary concepts.
Well, it's an imaginary.
Like, you go back, like,
it's not. It's not reality.
I mean, when we're talking about, and what we're addressing is the subject of gender identity and whether it trumps sex, right?
Sure.
Does it trump sex in terms of access to sex segregated spaces, or spaces that have previously been sex segregated? Which is where I'm coming at it from. Like, does somebody's self-concept override their social role? Like, does your self-concept override your social role and your responsibilities too? Mm-hmm. Like, how many men are abdicating their fucking responsibilities and, like, pretending that they're the victims of society now? Like,
boo-hoo.
Just, yeah, it's a get out of responsibility free card, I feel. It's also social capital right now. It's trendy to be, like, gender nonconforming. It's, like, celebrated everywhere. What is really gender nonconforming? Gender nonconforming in a way that is marketable, mm-hmm. Meaning that, you know, it's inoffensive. Not, you know, you don't see, like, hairy women being put forward, like, for example, like, women who have all their body hair being put forward as an example of, like, yeah, gender nonconformity. Like, there's an example.
You see, like, I don't remember who. I'm actually glad I don't remember the brand, but some stupid makeup company made a commercial of, like, a boy putting makeup on. He was getting ready to go to a party or something.
So we have a whole new demographic to sell our shitty makeup to.
Like, so that's cool. But a woman with a shaved head wearing pants is not that cool. Or a woman like us who openly, staunchly defy male identification are not cool. It has to be in a way, like you just said, it has to be in a way that's marketable. Hashtag marketable within capitalism.
So anyway, like, I don't know. It's interesting we got on this subject, actually. I didn't really want to talk about it, but we're
It's
here
okay.
because I guess it's what, like, is kind of my frustration. It's like, you know, I've been against this shit from the start, and I've just kind of let it grow and just let it slide. But I think it's like, I mean, what does that mean? I have no power over what other people do, right? Gender is literally sexist stereotypes. That's what Kay said.
Yeah, it is. It's also a very dangerous tool people are now using.
Oh shit. Sorry, Dworkin's Ghost wrote something really interesting about sisters being taught to compete for their father's attention and idolizing male family members.
True.
It's the beginning of male identification. Yeah, that is. I've actually noticed that. Yeah, where
Absolutely
if you have
true.
dynamics of, there is a competition for daddy's attention, isn't there? See, I was an only child. Like, I grew up on my own, so like, I didn't really have anyone to compete with for the affection of my parent. It was just me. So I don't really have like firsthand experience with this, but I do see it like play out in other families that I've noticed. And even into adulthood, it seems to be a wound that is still easily triggered where, like, oh, daddy did this for this one, you know, or like, well, that means daddy doesn't love this one. And like, just all of this like strange behavior that's like, or over identification with an older brother can sometimes happen too. Just like,
It's really like it is exactly what she said. I mean, it's like basically being taught or just falling right in line with, again, identifying with males. Only comprehending yourself within the context of men. But for that matter, I feel like a lot of women, like, you know how you say girls are socialized within the family to have their spirits broken?
yeah.
I feel like a lot of moms and a lot of sisters want to have girls or want to have a sister in order to break her spirit.
Yeah, it's like a game. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Which is just totally messed up and unhealthy and gross. And that does not create a healthy society.
Well, I mean, we live in a patriarchy. Like, daddy is the ultimate symbol of power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Someone recommended the section in Scum Manifesto about daddy's love, which is also very, I think, informative. This is interesting. So this man who's in the comment section is saying that he had a date who identified as genderqueer, who had a full beard, bow tie, blazer, and looked 1,000% male, but used the women's bathroom 3 times because he felt like a woman that day. And this man says he left the club.
That's exactly.
Can we talk about like needing to confront that as well? Like, so it's, I mean, I can see just leaving, but I mean, I think it's also important, like with people like that, to be like, how, what I don't, that's how little respect there is for women in this culture, isn't there? That it's like, I feel like a woman today, even though I'm a male, and I'll never know what a woman feels like. You know, most women don't even know what it fucking means to feel that way. But anyway, like, I will go, and I haven't even made any attempts to feminize myself so that I could relate to them about like how we self-harm. No. I remember you talking about like going into the bathroom and having this situation where I like your hand, or like I like your handbag, I like your coat, I like your dress, I like your hair. Like when you see a male in the restroom, like it's a way to like. But this guy wasn't even giving the girls anything to compliment. He's just going in there entitled as fuck and pissing or doing, maybe taking a shit. Taking a shit maybe
territory.
In a women's restroom. Yeah, I mean, so women like, I can't tell you the amount of times I've been like out, you know, when I was a younger woman, and I would go into the bathroom and some girl would be like crying or on drugs or puking, you know, like, yeah, or like just in a bad way. And like, it's not a space, like, if you're at a club, it's not a space for men to be going into. Because, like, oftentimes women, that's where the only place women have to go to intervene sometimes if they've been like, one's been drugged, you know, like, and this has happened to multiple people that I know in my life who party, you know, where they get slip drugs. It's regular. So it's like there needs to be a conversation had, I think, with the men. Who is confronting these men? Like, I don't interact with these males. I don't have a way, like, to be like, hey, you know.
I would confront him in the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's different when you're in a situation.
Next time it happens, watch the fuck out, because I'm going to be there. Men using the women's bathroom, and other women need to do that too. Just say, get out. Just be like, get out. You're not supposed to be here. All you have to do.
That's also the thing too, like the women's restroom doesn't have urinals, so you're wasting water as a male person using the fucking toilet instead of the goddamn urinal. Like,
such male behavior, such typical entitled male behavior.
So Shannon says that she's had the issue with her older brother and over identifying with him. Yeah, I mean, God, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like that's extremely common.
I've seen it a lot too. I don't know if I have any advice about it.
I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but my mom is from a family of too many kids, okay? And the girls outnumbered the boys, but the boys were favored a lot more. And the girls were pretty much just, you know, what's the word? When you put it on a factory, it's like a factory term, streamlined to become the best hops out there. You know, they were really only socialized to just be hops, and the boys were taught to be self-sufficient and all these other things. You know, and it's like so of course in that scenario, the girls are going to want to team up with the person who is self-sufficient or seen as self-sufficient. You know what I was thinking about, because I'm going to make a video about what to do if your daughter tells you she has gender dysphoria or is trans. And like, I think that a lot of the appeal because more girls are transing out than boys, a lot of the appeal there is that they will be treated like a boy. Like their parents have to start treating them as if they were male, as if they were autonomous, because girls are not fucking taught that they're autonomous.
Why couldn't they be treated that way to begin with?
Exactly.
I see that too. Like, I mean, I think I've talked about that as well in my like own experience. I'm addressing something in the comment section, like about how sometimes like males just get favored in families, you know, because they're able to manifest more, because they're given more tools to use in the world by virtue of, I don't know, they're simultaneously, there's like more expected of them. Like they need to achieve more and do more. And it feels like girls are just allowed to like coast or like make a man their plan, something like that.
Hope you find a man that'll fix it for you. Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Why don't you come on over and the rain?
Pink urinals facing the cubicles. Ugh.
Gross.
Hannah Tay said something about a man in the UK who was born a man and a few days a week says he's a woman who won a Businesswoman of the Year award.
Typical.
And he entered himself into the award list. I mean, that's upsetting. These kinds of things are upsetting, because it's like, and it's hard to talk about that. Like, I don't want to talk about that in a way that's like, I don't want to talk about it in the way that I see a lot of people talking about it. But what I want to say that I think it's really a shame that like women aren't getting credit for the things we do. And that this is just another way that men can like circumvent and like take from women, without ever really facing any of the consequences of being women.
Legal fiction, natural fact said Abrahamic religion made the parents like the boy more. Yep. Christianity, Judaism, Islam.
So
How to key scroll up here.
Okay, so Shot mentioned some guy. I think we're missing it. Oh, the weirdo in New York City that took that woman's slot for the Democratic Party, going on stage with his tiny heart on while wearing a dress and stockings. I didn't see that. But it sounds like some other women had some kind of interaction, or that he blocked
Gross.
Ella here. Philip Bunce is his name. Okay. Was asked about Bernie Sanders.
I'm really not privy on that shit.
How do I put this? How do I put this? I feel that there are enough people talking about that kind of subject matter that I don't choose to engage in talking about like presidential candidates, period. I think that that's to get into talking about what my opinions of Bernie Sanders are, we're going to have to scroll back 10 years or maybe 20 years and like lead you up to my view of like the kind of people who vie for power of the United States and all the bullshit and spin that's going on every fucking day in the media to manipulate a very small part of the public's perception of these people who are leading us. I don't know.
I mean,
I think maybe, I don't know. I mean, I have friends who are like supportive of him, I guess, and like they seem to be in it for the right reasons. I will say that. And I think that like,
I mean, personally, I can't, okay, I used to be really passionate about presidential bullshit, like back when I was a liberal, but like I feel like none of it even really matters. I feel like whoever the fuck the president is doesn't really truly change society that much. And I don't think that if you want to make social change, you should really be focusing on presidential elects because that shit is rigged anyway. Do you all know what gerrymandering is? That happens all the fucking time. Like, I can't, like, me endorsing a certain candidate isn't going to really do anything. So, like, I'm really just fucking exhausted of the whole process, honestly. I don't
really want to participate in that just in terms of the work I do.
Same.
And I don't want to like participate in like the further polarization of the public, like that I see going on, like, and the stupid petty kind of shit that people fight about that they wouldn't otherwise.
That's
like,
that, I feel like that kind of ties back to the subject of
and we should start to wrap this up too, because
women get so caught up in this petty shit about me, petty shit about Terry. Women like saying like, well, Leah said this and now I don't like her, or Terry said this and now I don't like her. It's like, okay, sounds like petty shit. Like, we don't have to agree on everything, but like you disregarding someone because you don't like one of their opinions, I feel like that's kind of stupid and petty.
I think, I mean, I do agree that that's stupid and petty. I do. I just, I want to be like, I don't want to be stupid and petty in response. And I don't want to like, I just don't want to be exposed. I just don't want to be exposed to that kind of stuff anymore. You know, it's just not healthy for me. And it kind of like, it damages my other relationships as well.
Right.
Anyway, it's kind of, mm, I don't know. I'm having a moment here where I'm just kind of like, my battery's running low, so we should probably wrap up actually.
Well,
I don't know if we got everything across today.
we can do a part 2 if necessary.
Of course we can.
Thanks for showing up, everyone.
Yeah, how much time have we been on? We've been on over an hour.
An hour.
I feel like I don't want to like complain and just be like relationships suck. I think they're work, and I think like some of the things we talked about today are like the work that we have to do just daily in our relationships, and like recognizing our own patterns around like how we've been taught, you know, to look for validation or to people please or to be liked or to avoid conflict as like all feminine behaviors, and also like knowing ourselves too, and like knowing what kind of relationships we actually need.
Get to know yourself.
You know yourself, you vision, like I said, if I've been dealing with the same dynamic since girlhood, maybe it's time to like look at myself in that dynamic and see what's wrong with me, or not what's wrong with me, but like just why am I experiencing
yourself,
this?
Analyze your own preferences.
Analyze your preferences.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here and listening to us.
Yes, thanks. We appreciate
giving your feedback. Yeah. Well, good luck with your relationships.
Yeah, good luck.
And, you know, stay committed to them. All right.
Bye.